Hello, my name is Arttemis. Welcome to my YouTube channel. And today's video is going to be about neurology, biology, and psychology, and how we actually achieve greater alignment, coherence, and capacity to lead and thrive at all levels of life. Stay tuned. Welcome to my channel. If this is your first time here, click that like button, comment below, subscribe to this channel for more information on how leaders can achieve excellence, alignment, and coherence in leadership, high performance. Now, I am here to help leaders become reborn into limitless energy so you don't have to chase trendy traps, biohacks, and supplements, and that you can actually achieve impeccable alignment and coherence where your body doesn't have to sacrifice for high performance. I have over 25 years in holistic medicine, regenerative medicine, leadership, and mind-body science and alchemy. And this is powerful when you learn about your neurology, your psychology, and your biology, and how these work through the sovereign training path and the sovereign power path. Now, alignment builds coherence. Coherence expands capacity, and expanding capacity through alignment and coherence is the containment of power. This is how we achieve exceptional leadership in the sovereign power path, is getting you into alignment and coherence first. Before we can do that, we need to understand your neurology, your biology, and your psychology. So in today's presentation, I'm going to be unpacking what it means to have a calibrated nervous system that's in alignment, which is poise, safety, security, insight, intuition. When you learn to recalibrate your nervous system and unveil the mask, you get a clear signal neurologically. You actually start to take command of the field. Now, number two is biology. We're going to be talking about the biological conditions that make you resilient. So when your neurology comes into balance, then you can actually shift to biology of leadership, which is resilience and high performance, where your body has mineral priming, oxygenation, mineralization, hydration, solar radiation, and then voltage and regeneration, and how these things play a role in biological resilience. The third one, which is the most powerful principle, and stay tuned for this one, is psychology. And psychology is your mind, your body, and your soul all working together as one. It's where you put your focus. It's that orientation you have to leadership and moving out of a hero or a protector or a people pleaser psychology, and moving into the sovereign embodied leader through the sovereign power path. And as you learn to make the shift to psychology, so many powerful things happen because with the right neurology and biology, and then awareness, you build a clear signal. And with that clear signal, there's so much more power in creativity and intuition and in alignment, coherence, and capacity. So when you hear me talk about these terms, alignment, coherence, capacity, it's going to be in reference to your neurology, alignment, your biology, coherence, and your capacity, your psychology, and how all these work together. Now, in the past 20 to 30 years, and especially in the past 10 years, the demand for leadership has exceeded the capacity of our human nervous system. And what we're doing right now in the modern world is we are in a massive amount of burnout, overwhelm. We're actually waking up tired more these days. We are aging. We are getting the chronic disease is an epidemic right now because of stress, which is overwhelm. And our leaders are becoming extremely stressed and overwhelmed, where the demands they're placing on themselves is exceeding the capacity of their nervous system. But let me ask you a question. What if we could increase the capacity of our neurology? Now, your nervous system is really, really simple. It has two sides. It has sympathetic, parasympathetic. And we need both sides of the nervous system to actually thrive in leadership. So you have sympathetic and parasympathetic cycles. It's like a sine wave. Yeah. Look at this wave here. So sympathetic is the top of the wave. That's fight, flight, or freeze. And parasympathetic down here, which is para, that's rest, digest, and repair. And this is all there's hormonal cycles that follow this. There are enzyme cycles that follow this. There are all the cycles. This is the day and the night. This is the masculine and the feminine. This is sympathetic, parasympathetic. This creates the ability to live in a body and to live in and adapt to your leadership in your life. When you are wearing the mask of the hero, the rescuer, you're thinking, okay, I've got to protect and then save the day. I've got to go win. I cannot rest until I win. I have to hold everything up. I have to go and be there. What I do as the hero, your identity and your value is expressed in what you do, not who you are. And then what happens if you stay there for too long, year after year after year, you get trapped in sympathetic dominance. The same is true for those mothers, fathers, leaders who are trapped in the people pleaser mask. So this is, if I'm needed, I won't be left alone. My value comes from helping others. If I say no, I'll hurt someone or lose connection. The people pleaser is always looking to seek relevance and connection through pleasing others, helping others. And they give and they give and they give. This is also a sympathetic dominant state, which with each mask that we carry, if we carry it for too long, it begins to burn out our central nervous system. Because whether we're the hero or the people pleaser or the protector guardian, there is a override, a sympathetic override. There is a hypervigilance. There's like the hero is always on call. He's always looking to perform because that's how he values himself, is based on what he does, his performance. And it gets you to where you are in a certain stage of your life, but eventually it starts to burn out your neurology. To have neurology alignment in coherence with biology, we need to learn how to recalibrate the nervous system. And recalibrating the nervous system is through calm, steady, stable, rhythmic, and warm. And then hydration, mineralization, oxygenation, detoxification, regeneration. So these are all first principles. Like what I just shared with you, the calm, steady, stable, rhythmic, warm, that's the first principle of Ayurveda in pacifying vata. What I shared with you around oxygenation, mineralization, hydration, etc., these are first principles in biochemistry when it comes to cellular balance and biological resilience, biological regeneration. So if we're going to bring neurological balance, we need to first begin to learn how to calibrate our own nervous system. And there are multiple dimensions of calibrating your nervous system. Now, one of the most important dimensions of the nervous system is your connection to sunlight. So getting outside in the morning, that turns on your optic nerve, which stimulates the pituitary, which turns on all the glands. And then you come in and you drink 32 ounces of raw lemonade, green juice, coconut water with spirulina. You want high water, high minerals. For example, this is coconut water, barley grass juice powder. So the nervous system needs a certain amount of minerals as in your leadership, in your ability to lead and perform and have resilience. You need hydration, mineralization to make sure that this sine wave is moving properly through your life, sympathetic, parasympathetic. And when you get into calm, steady, rhythmic, and then warm activities, now you're starting to initiate parasympathetic, and that parasympathetic balance is golden because that recalibration of your nervous system through balancing sympathetic and parasympathetic builds neurological balance. Now, one of the most powerful ways to shift your nervous system in psychology is to shift out of the mask. Now, we all wear these masks as leaders. It's what helped build our skills. It's what got us up and going. It's what helped us seek relevance. It's what helped us build teams. But if you're a leader watching this right now and you're feeling a crisis of identity, you're waking up and you're saying, I don't know who I am anymore. What was it all for? You begin to question. Or if you start to feel like you don't have the passion, the excitement anymore to build your business. You used to have all this fire, and all of a sudden, expansion feels heavy. Success feels like a burden. When leaders hit that wall, that invisible wall where success is heavy, the weight of expansion, that means you are entering a phase where you're in burnout, where you just don't have the fire anymore. And you need to learn how to unveil this survival pattern and get out of hypervigilance and find your neurological balance with shifting your identity and your orientation. You know, power is not a mindset issue. It's a system and architectural issue in our neurology, biology, and psychology. When people feel like they're low in power in their leadership, and you go to mindset tools and hacks and workshops and books, and you're trying to get more power by hacking more of your body, but you're not addressing your neurology and your psychology, then you get a little boost and then it oscillates. You get a little better and then you contract. And all these things you're stacking, the biohacks, the hyperbaric, the red light, the minerals, the electrolyte drinks, the caffeine, the bulletproof coffee, you're doing all these things and you should be feeling better, but you're not. And you're wondering, why am I not feeling better if I'm stacking all these things in my leadership? It's because you haven't come into alignment with your neurology and your psychology, because the identity you have as a leader right now, if you're the hero, the people pleaser, the protector, guardian, whatever mask you're wearing, if you're still living behind that mask, you're living in hypervigilance. The hero is always out there trying to win. The people pleaser is always putting other people's needs before their own. The protector guardian is always scanning for threats and always making sure that they cover their team, their family. They're always showing up, and it's always about others. And the nervous system starts to get really, really fried. And so you need to be aware of that pattern as a leader, that your ego and your mask is not your true self. God is asking you to rise in a new level of leadership, to become the sovereign, empowered leader. Remember, the containment of power through alignment and coherence is sovereign, where you have an alignment of neurology, biology, and psychology. And when these three things line up, you now have greater capacity to do more, to lead more, to be more creative. You're more insightful. You're more intuitive. You're going to be able to predict things before they happen. When you have this alignment of neurology, psychology, and biology, you step into like a way of architecting flow more often. What is flow? It's where your creativity is on fire. Your sense of self vanishes. Action and awareness merge. Everyone knows that thing we call flow. But flow can be compounded and architected more efficiently with neurology, biology, and psychology in balance. And this is the beauty of sovereign power. This is what I teach in the Sovereign Power Path, is how we achieve the execution of these three dimensions of leadership: neurology, biology, and psychology. Let's shift gears a little bit to biology. Now, I have 25 years in holistic medicine. I've served over 40,000 people. I've been a leader for 12 of those years, probably 14 now, 2026. And I know a lot about the body. I've trained in 3 holistic medical clinics. I've worked with doctors, some of the finest holistic medical doctors in America. Dr. Gabriel Cousins, Dr. Brian Clement from Hippocrates, Dr. David Hoover, Dr. Morris, Dr. Robert Morris out of Florida. And biology follows neurology. Remember, in the 5 elements of Ayurveda, we have ether, air, fire, water, earth. So ether is the formless, and then it forms air. Air begins to create fire. Fire births water. Water births earth. So these 5 elements follow also the process of containing and transmitting power. If you're a leader, understand how your neurology, which is vata and air, then translate to your biology, digestive fire, the ability to have metabolism and burn oxygen, that's pitta. And then the digestive fire then transforms your food and water into earth, which is regenerative power. You know, once you have an alignment of neurology, biology, then you have the ability to transform more of your food, more of your nutrition into vitality. And this is Ayurveda in the elements and Agni, digestive fire. And to build the body, one of the most important things to understand is first principles. Don't go chasing biohacks, red light, cold plunges, hyperbaric chambers, all the freaking NADs and peptides and stuff like that, if you're not understanding first principles, because doing the right things in the wrong order to improve your power, big problem. Remember, power is not a mindset issue, and it's not going to be achieved through biohacks. Power is going to be achieved through alignment, coherence, and capacity, neurology, biology, psychology. And as we look at your biology, there are 5 elements. There is 4 pathways: digestion, absorption, utilization, elimination. And there are 7 forces of life. These are all first principles. Once you understand these first principles as a leader, when you understand the elements and how everything is governed by the nervous system, you start taking better care of your nervous system. Circadian biology, optimizing sleep, hydration, mineralization, calm, warm, rhythmic practices, silence. And then that translates to the 7 forces of life. And this is when I'm working with you as a leader, what I'm teaching you is how to build regenerative power in leadership to regenerate life. And the regeneration of life is both a spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical process. When we go from ether to air to fire to water to earth, we're going from the etheric, from the spiritual, to the mental air, and then to the water, the emotions, and then to the earth, the body. So you can see the bodies, you can see the 5 elements as related to the 4 bodies, the 5th body being your soul, which is your psychology. And as you start understanding this relationship between the elements and your body, then you can look to these first principles. The first principles give you discernment and discrimination of how to weave in the biohacks, the supplements, the protocols, the nutrients, the superfoods. You need to go back and learn from a true living teacher like myself who understands the 5 elements, the 4 pathways, the 7 forces of life. To truly regenerate power, you're going to start in your neurology. You're going to balance your nervous system, because the more balanced your nervous system is, parasympathetic, the more you can rest, digest, repair, and rejuvenate at a cellular level, and to be able to translate the prana of life into your physical body through breath, through stillness, through Agni, digestive fire. In Ayurveda, there are 4 types of fire. And this is important for leaders to understand, because when you want to have greater coherence and capacity, you want to build Agni, digestive fire, because there's Jatar Agni, Chit Agni, Bhut Agni, and Sarvagni. And the Jatar Agni is digestive fire. You start with Jatar Agni. In my program, Sovereign Power Path, we build Agni, fire. And this fire then rises up into the mind, Chittagni. The Chittagni is where you have clarity of choice, clarity of insight, clarity of intuition, clarity of action. When your fire is balanced in the body, digestive fire and mental fire, and you have the 7 forces, and your body's regenerative, guess what? You have more power. You have more containment of power when these things line up as a leader. And so in your leadership, in your high performance, build digestive fire to build mental fire, and then to begin to translate more of what you're drinking and eating in your high performance practices into life force, into body, into power. Every powerful leader has power in their mind and power in their body. But many leaders who are doing the fitness and the protein and the biohacks and the supplements, and they're not getting to where they want to be, it's because of weak digestive fire and a hyperactive nervous system. They're too hypervigilant. They're still living behind the mask. That's never going to get you to the containment of power if you stay drinking caffeine and stimulants and being a people pleaser, being a hero. This is all sympathetic dominant. We get to learn how to recalibrate through hydration, mineralization, oxygenation, calm, steady, stable, rhythmic, warm, identity shifting, being able to shift our identity and take off that mask and let our soul erupt into a healthy nervous system and a healthy body. And these things, they're not separate, because in order for your biology to be healthy and to be regenerative, we have to translate our neurology first. We have to recalibrate our nervous system. As we start stacking nervous system, hydration, mineralization, and then biological shift, high performance and leadership starts to grow and excel. As leaders, we can contain more power with hydration, mineralization, calm, steady, warm. And then what happens from there is we begin to naturally shift orientation. So this is part 3 of my training today. I want to talk about psychology. So we've unpacked neurology, we've unpacked biology. Now we need to unpack psychology. Now, your psychology as a leader, as a performer, as an executive, doctor, whatever you're doing, this is the most important thing to really shift. But it doesn't shift just with tools and mindsets and hacks. Remember, power is not a mindset issue. Power is not adding more tools. Power is the awakening of your true self in alignment, coherence, capacity, neurology, biology, psychology. And when you start to recalibrate your nervous system using the sovereign power path that I teach, you step into a really powerful way of seeing and shifting your orientation. The reason a lot of people come to me and they're like, Arttemis, I've been to UPW, the workshops, I've done the tapping, I've done the ayahuasca, I've done all this stuff, red light, hyperbaric, and I'm still not where I want to be, because they're trapped in a psychological orientation of hypervigilance. They're in survival. You are wired to survive. Thriving is a choice. And you have to learn how to shift orientation away from the ego and the mask. Remember, there's a part of you that lives in survival. Eckhart Tolle calls it the pain body. Some people call it the ego, self-conscious mind. I like to refer to it as a mask and the archetypes of the 9 masks, because it gives you more understanding of what is in the way. Why do I keep oscillating? Why do I keep trying to add more into my life as a leader, as a high performer? I'm trying to add more. But the more I add, the more I fracture. Or the more tools of personal development I try, I can't seem to get to the place I really want to go as a leader, as a high performer, because tools of transformation won't get you to this level I'm describing. This level I'm describing is an awakening. If you're always working on your mindset in an orientation of survival, you're just going to be reorganizing your ego and survival. And I really want you to get that. Like, personal development doesn't work for leaders who are ready to really grow into true power. 97% of personal development doesn't work for most people because they're trying to heal patterns in the orientation of survival, which is the people pleaser, the hero, the protector guardian, the overthinker, the perfectionist. Like, these masks that we carry are living in survival. And what do? Is we go take a workshop, we go to a live event, we get a transformational experience, and it's just helping us feel a little better, but it's not shifting identity or orientation. In order for these biohacks, these lifestyle upgrades, these tools of transformation to really start to stack, and in order for you to really contain more power, you have to stop feeding the mask, redeem it, and shift orientation to sovereign power, sovereign alignment, and sovereign leadership. Because when you shift orientation and you give your power to that new orientation, you're no longer trying to fix your survival patterns or cope with your ego or trying to, I'm telling you, changing emotions doesn't work. Changing your belief systems doesn't work. Learning more tools and hacks and stacking those, expecting new or different results doesn't work, because you're trying to heal your survival nature and reorganize these mindsets and patterns in survival. You have to shift orientation to a creative, soulful, sovereign structure. When you make this psychological shift, this is all psychology, where we put our focus. Orientation then builds new focus. New orientation focus builds a new structure in your life, and energy flows transcendent of your survival patterns. You stop making choices from the people pleaser and the hero and the protector, and you start making choices based on your soul and God. You shift your ego and mask from the identity to the instrument of serving God. This is true sovereign power and sovereign leadership. Every leader at some point has to bend a knee and align with their creator and say, okay, my mask, my ego has got me this far, God. I have this amazing team, amazing company, amazing accomplishments, but why do I feel so empty inside? Why does success feel heavy? Why is it when I'm trying to expand and give more to my family and my company and my team, I just feel burdened by it, and I've lost the zest? If that's happening, it's because the weight of the mask is so heavy, it's starting to bear down on you and weigh you down. And you have to realize that I'm no longer a hero. I'm no longer a protector. I'm no longer a perfectionist. I'm no longer a people pleaser. I am now sovereign, and I'm going to lift people up because I'm in alignment, coherence, and capacity in my leadership. I can perform and create and become a co-creator with God because I know my true self and I've shifted orientation in psychology. This is the thing about psychological shifts. It's not changing mindset, it's shifting orientation and getting into alignment with your soul as God made you. One of the things that makes us human and different from apes and monkeys, which are like 96, 97% genetically similar, is our ability to speak words into form. The opposable thumb, that's one thing. To be able to create words. We as human beings, as sovereign leaders, we can create words that move teams, that move markets, that move lives. We can imagine things never before done, never before created. So we can speak, we can imagine, we can feel, we can move people with our feelings, our imagination, and our words. And these things are made of the soul. When you take the mask off, when you finally unveil the mask, what is left is your true self as a leader, and that is your soul. Your soul is in your vision. Your soul is in what you value. Your soul is in your zone of genius and the states we call flow. As a matter of fact, when you get into those flow states, that's the language of the soul in your body, is flow. Have you ever thought about that? And when you start to connect, when you take the mask off, shift orientation, you are shifting orientation as soul, no longer trying to survive and make the world, seek relevance, seek connection, seek a way to stay connected to everything around you. You're now self-aligned, self-focused, soul-focused, and sovereign. And in this place, power is regenerative. In this place of sovereign power, alignment, coherence, capacity, when you go from ego to soul in orientation, your soul erupts. You become so much more consistent that some people have this thing called imposter syndrome where they don't believe they can do what they want to do. That's just their mask. That's just the people pleaser. The hero is never going to let you win. So you keep going for it. You keep trying to win. The people pleaser is never going to let you feel happy for what you want. So you're always trying to give other people what they want. The perfectionist is never going to feel like they've ever completed something perfectly. And so when you call them out, and you want to help them grow, they don't want to admit it because they're going to have to admit that it's not perfect, that there's something wrong. And that's the danger of this mask. It makes you feel like an imposter. When you take it off, when you let your soul get in the driver's seat of your leadership, high performance from soul, neurology, biology, and psychology is the soul in the driver's seat. The ego gets kicked to the chassis. It's just your identity, but it's no longer driving your choices, because you've shifted orientation and your soul is now driving the car of your life. This makes such a difference in your choices, because when you're choosing based on survival in the mask, you're always choosing on conditional choices and you get trapped in oscillation. When you're making a different orientation to soul and sovereign power, when you've hooked up your neurology and your biology, soul just comes online. Now you do need to go through some processes that help you shift to soul focus, vision, values, genius, and purpose. And then the soul gets in the driver's seat of your life, and the choices you're making are self-directed, self-aligned, God-aligned. You move from the ego being the identity to the instrument of serving your soul and God. And serving your soul is serving God. Remember that in your leadership. When you're true to your values, your vision, and your genius, and you're leading a team and making profits and sales and marketing and fulfillment and all this stuff, when it comes from the soul, you move the market. You take command of the field. The people around you respond to who you are as soul. You're not an ego. You're not fake. You develop a clear signal when your soul emerges in your leadership. And that clear signal, as your soul emerges in leadership, has neurology, biology, and psychology in harmony. The nervous system begins to come into calibration. The biology starts being filled with living waters, hydration, mineralization, oxygenation, regeneration, high voltage, high prana, high mineral. Digestive fire is strong, and the fires of the body is bringing fire into your mind. You're clear, without stimulants, without hacks, just as you are. And then you shift orientation to a sovereign orientation where your vision, your values, your genius line up. This is the sovereign power path. And this is what I wanted to share with you today. So thank you for watching this video. Comment below what were your takeaways. Share this video with people you know that could benefit from this message. It's really time it's time for leaders and high performers, mothers and fathers, to have more health and more coherence. I'm 47 years young, and I'm in some of the best health of my life from living these principles. And now I get to teach them to you, and I'm so honored. So my name is Arttemis, founder of Sovereign Training Systems. I will see you in the next video.